Hey guys, my name's Dustin Cabral. I'm a data visualization and analytics lead at Cleartelligence, and I'm here to talk to you about jumpstarting your career in Dataviz. I've spent years navigating the world of data visualization, both professionally and personally. It can be tough to know where to place your energy in terms of starting and growing your career in data visualization. Over the course of the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to break down the ins and outs of Dataviz careers for you. Let's take a quick look at what we'll be talking about before we jump in. First, I'll explain my journey, briefly giving you an idea of how I got to where I am. Then we'll talk through key topics related to experience, visibility, specialization, generalization, and preventing burnout. I began my journey at Bryant University, one of the 3 big business schools in New England. Back in 2009, they didn't have any degrees in analytics, and I had no idea what I wanted to do, other than the fact that I knew I didn't want to work on weekends. That's why I studied business administration. It was general enough that I could pivot if I needed, but it was still business focused. I graduated during the Great Recession and was lucky enough to land a supply chain job at FGX, a company that specializes in producing reading and sunglasses. You know, the kind at your local drugstore. From FGX, I made the leap to Staples Corporate, creator of the biggest office supply store in the world. I started at Staples as an analyst in the merchandising group and worked my way up while learning the tools of the trade. Things like Excel, PowerPoint, ThinkCell, and SQL Server. One day, my wife who worked at Bose suggested I try Tableau. Being the smart husband that I was, I did and was immediately hooked. The only problem was that Staples didn't have Tableau, and from what I had heard, they might at some point, but I knew what I had to do. I quit. Once I made the move to EMC, I learned my core Tableau desktop and development skills. After a short stint there, Staples called me up and asked me if I'd come back to be Tableau lead for the whole company. Turns out, they had purchased Tableau and were looking for somebody to lead the team. Back at Staples, I grew the Tableau community and vastly expanded my skill set, so much so that I eventually made the leap to consulting at a company called Cleartelligence. At Cleartelligence, I've been a jack of all trades, running events, building Tableau communities, teaching, building dashboards, and much, much more. I've grown, and so has the company over the last 6 years, and I'm so glad I made the leap. I've also worked to grow my personal brand through a bunch of different channels. The first of which was my Tableau public site, which holds all of my wacky dashboard side projects. After a few years, I went from attending Boston Tableau user group meetings to running them with the help of my other community leaders. BTugs provided a space for me to share what I'd learned and help others network with like-minded Dataviz nerds. I also wanted to give back locally and started guest speaking at schools like Bryant, Bentley, Babson, and Tufts. Eventually, I broadened my teaching online with platforms like Udemy and Maven Analytics. All in all, one tiny nudge from my wife set off quite a career for me. Now you might be thinking, great Dustin, but how do I do something like that with my own career? Well, let's start by talking about experience. When we think of experience, we often break it down into 4 key areas: a college degree, courses and certifications, work history, and industry experience. We'll break down what experience is needed in order to land a Dataviz role and expand your career in the analytics space. But first, let's take a peek at what a typical Dataviz job posting looks like. What you see here is a real job posting for a Tableau developer role. What can be discouraging are the details within it. If you read through the qualifications, the first thing you'll notice is that this role requires deep experience, including 7+ years of data warehousing and business intelligence, 3+ years of Tableau development, and 5 years of SQL experience. Now, just these qualifications will put most highly skilled Tableau developers technically out of the running. Do you really need more than 3 years of Tableau development? Why do you need 5 years of SQL coding? It gets worse if you look further at the responsibilities, which include extensive SDLC development and platform migration, dashboard development, which makes sense, but you also need to be well-versed in SQL, SQL Server, Oracle, IBM, DB2, PostgreSQL, MongoDB, and more. The Tableau development piece makes sense, but do you really need to have worked with all those different data sources before? If the recruiters at this company are expecting a match here, it's going to be hard to find. Let's talk about what you really need in order to land roles like these in the Dataviz space. Alright, so the 4 experience types include college degree, work history, courses and certifications, and industry experience. Does that mean you need all 4 of these in order to secure roles in Dataviz and grow? Absolutely not. In general, you'll need a combination of 2 of these types of experience in order to be successful in your pursuit of a role. I'd classify industry experience as a nice to have, but not a need to have. It's a great differentiator if you have it and the company is down to 2 identical candidates, but it's not going to be a deal breaker in most scenarios. So besides industry experience, you can choose any 2 combinations, including college degree and work history, college degree and courses and certifications, or even work history and courses and certifications. Any of these combos will be enough to get you past the experience barrier. One thing you'll probably notice is that there's an asterisk on college degree here. Well, there's a reason for that. So it's true that you'll need at least a bachelor's degree for a job doing data visualization. What you don't need is a specific degree, however. I'll give you an example from right here at ClearTelligence. About 34% of ClearTelligence's team has technical degrees in either IT, CIS, or something similar. Being a technical consulting firm, that number will seem low to most people, but it's true. Some of our most talented technical people have degrees far from what you would call technical. If you look at just our Dataviz team members, the number of technical degrees drops even lower, to only 14%. Some of our degrees include biology, finance, marketing, German literature, library, math, and my favorite, metallurgical engineering. It's always going to be more about what you do with your skills than what you've studied that makes you successful. One thing you should be thinking about in addition to experience is how to be visible in the Dataviz community. Okay, I get this question a lot. How do I build a public persona in the Dataviz community? Well, I break it into 4 categories, including self-improvement, promotional, community and status, and philanthropic. Self-improvement includes initiatives like Makeover Monday, Workout Wednesday, and more. These activities are managed by active community members and can help with portfolio development and networking. Promotional visibility is more directly related to your personal brand and can include writing posts and blogs, curating your Tableau public content, and creating videos. Community and status endeavors are more difficult and take quite a bit of effort to achieve. These include official recognition from Tableau for things like Tableau Zen Master, Ambassador, and Iron Viz finalists. Finally, there are philanthropic programs to involve yourself in, like Viz for Social Good and the Tableau Foundation. Obviously, there are a lot of activities out there to boost your brand online, but does that mean you need to do all of them? No. Just pick 1 or 2 to start and go with what appeals to you. Now that we've talked about visibility programs, let's quickly review the most popular platforms to engage with the Dataviz community. There are a lot of ways to engage on social media, but the most impactful are Tableau's forums, Tableau Public, Tableau user groups, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and personal blogs. It's not necessary to post or engage on all of these platforms, but my advice is to at least consume content from a few to help keep a pulse on the community as a whole. So what might engagement on these platforms look like? Here are a few examples of my own engagement, including Twitter posts, my Tumblr blog, my Tableau public profile, LinkedIn promotions, and my presentations uploaded to YouTube. The longer you're on the platforms and are engaging, the more of a profile you'll build up. So that can sound like a lot, but where do you start? Try starting with Makeover Monday, Workout Wednesday, Tableau Public, or Iron Quest. Once you build up confidence, you can move to the next level. Now the next level is not easy to get to. Things like Iron Viz, Tableau Fringe Festival, Tableau Ambassador, and Zen Master are great to strive for, but you shouldn't expect to win or achieve any of these. It can be frustrating, so be sure to keep things in perspective. Very few people make it to this level. Participation in the process, building your skill set, and satisfaction with your work should be the real goal. Beyond being visible, you'll also need to stand out. The best way to do that is to be great at something. What does being great mean? Well, the definition we're going to focus on here is having ability considerably above normal or average. Digging deeper, we can interpret this above average ability as specialization, or, as defined here, becoming an expert in a particular skill or subject. Specialization has become the hallmark of the 21st century and touches all facets of our lives. Specialization started at the macro level, with industries and companies specializing to be experts in subsets of traditional marketplaces. From there, specialization has traveled down the chain and found its way into roles, higher education, and the technical skills themselves. Speaking of higher education, degrees in areas like data science and analytics have exploded over the last 15 years. When I graduated with a bachelor's in 2009, there were almost no programs specializing in these areas. Now there are dozens to choose from. Even looking at our own organization, we are a specialization microcosm. First off, we are a highly specialized data and analytics consulting company, who often refer to themselves as an analytics SWAT team. We break our team down into 6 key pillars. These include principles, data visualization, data architecture, systems architecture, application development, and project management. If we dive into one of these pillars, such as data visualization, we can quickly see that even those individuals bring specialization to that role in the form of technical skills specialization. Looking at each of the technical skills often asked of data visualization professionals, it can be overwhelming to think of all the gaps you have. Instead, think about what you can be great at and what you enjoy most. You'll get far more attention for standing out in one area than being okay at many. Additionally, it's almost impossible to stay up to date on more than a handful of tools, and anyone who says they are expert level at more than 3 is not being realistic. Start with choosing the tool that you feel you can go the deepest in and are most passionate about. Don't be the guy for any job. Once you pick a tool, hone your skill set, build a portfolio, focus your search, hit those must-haves but not the nice-to-haves for a particular role, and most importantly, do what gives you flow. Next, let's talk for a bit about being a data generalist. Yes, I know we just talked about focusing on specializing on one tool, but trust me, it will all make sense in a second. We can look at specialization and generalization as 2 sides of the same coin. Specialization is mastery of something, while generalization is awareness of everything else. Both specialization and generalization are needed to be effective in your roles. If we take a look at some of the top technical skills and soft skills needed for roles in data analytics, we can see there's a lot to cover. This is where specialization and generalization come in. Let's say that you're passionate about Tableau and have chosen it as your specialization. That makes sense, but you should also at least be aware of the other technical and soft skills needed for a role, including data prep, databases, communication, critical thinking, and more. This generalization process gives you the surface knowledge of peripheral skills while keeping your focus for specialization. If you want to put numbers to it, we recommend using the 80-20 rule for specialization and generalization. Spend around 80% of your time honing your specialist skill set, and 20% of your time building peripheral generalized knowledge. Let's get real for a second and talk about values and viability. What I just went through may make you feel sick thinking about all that you need to learn. To help prevent from burning out, you'll need to set up a structure to keep things in line. There are 4 key areas you'll need to address, including ranking your priorities, assigning time blocks to each priority, setting manageable goals, and being aware of your burnout meter. Here are some of my own priorities ranked, starting with family, then health, work, and finally my side projects. Let's take a quick look at an example schedule that I have for my own time. Purple is family time, gray is mental and physical health time, blue and green are meeting and development time, and orange is the time I allot for my special projects. You don't have to be as precise as this, but it helps to keep things organized. And here's a quick look at how I set goals for individual projects. This is a sample timeline for one of my e-learning courses, complete with stages, gates, and deadlines. And finally, be aware of your burnout meter. Listen to those closest to you when they tell you to work less. Don't take being busy as a badge of honor. You only get one body, one life, and one chance to be your best self. Thank you, and good luck.